Hello, everybody, and welcome to my own personal shrimp world. At this point, shrimp tanks have literally taken over my life. What started out as a hobby and then became an obsession, and now is actually how I earn my living. I wake up thinking about shrimp, I do shrimp all day, and I go to bed thinking about shrimp. Today, I want to take the time to show you guys how I do my shrimp tanks, all my shrimp tanks. Now, keep in mind, I'm trying out different things, and just because something looks good doesn't mean it always does good for the shrimp, and just because something looks bad doesn't mean the shrimp love it. So, when I talk about that, I've been trying a lot of stuff with more light. So, there's a lot of stuff about more light, and which means more algae and duckweed. But we'll talk about that as we go along the video. And we've got some crazy plant growth. You guys are going to be amazed when you see some of this stuff. So stick around and check it out. So we'll start up here on my rack of 40-gallon breeders. This is my 40-gallon blue jelly tank. And like I said, we're going to have you're going to see some algae. I've been experimenting with adding more and more lights. And I think I've reached the limit for what works. So I think what I'm going to do now is start having my lights on less, because we've got plenty of growth, but we've got some algae too. Some tanks get algae and some tanks don't. So this tank has an aqua neat light and a 40-watt shop light on it. So that's pretty crazy. Look at, even though the algae, the shrimp love it, they don't care even a little. The blue jellies are doing so good. And then right here, right next to it, we have another 40-gallon breeder tank with the exact same light setup. However, this tank you will not find hardly one piece of algae. Just lush moss. And hundreds of beautiful orange shrimp. And look how nice this crypt is growing. This is a crypt that took over this whole tank literally. And I ripped it all out except for a little piece. Sent it to my buddy Valley Fish. And now here it is growing back. And it won't be long, it'll be taking over the tank again. But look at that moss. Wow. I think one of the things people with a lot of tanks struggle with is making sure each tank is serving a purpose and being productive. And I feel like I'm doing pretty good at that right now. There's some tanks that suck right now, but I think I have a purpose. For example, this tank right here is a fun project. Mixing red shrimp and blue jelly shrimp, trying to get blue red realies and red realies and stuff like that. I am farming jungle val in here and lots of spiral val as well. We've got all of it. And we also have super red pluckos in here too. There's always little baby pluckos in here doing their thing. And right next to this is my main Blue Dreams tank now. Again, experimenting with light. Look how happy and healthy the plants are. But we do have some algae. And we have a touch of green water. That's why it's cloudy. But again, my main concern here is making lots of shrimp. And the more light, the more shrimp. You get more plant growth, even algae growth. Makes the water parameters better for the shrimp. Sucks out all the nutrients, the bad stuff that we don't want, which makes the water quality better for the shrimp. And more light, you're growing that ever important biofilm. The more biofilm you have, the more shrimp you can have. So basically, the trick is lots of maintenance, lots of water changes, lots of food, and lots of light, lots of food, lots of water changes. There's no secret. It's just dedication and hard work. There's no secret to it. It's just sticking with it. Time over time, not getting, oh, this is boring. You just got to stick with things. Good things come to those who wait. And I've built myself up a whole shrimp in a whole lot of shrimp tanks at this point. And we're coming up on 6 years I started setting up all this madness up, believe it or not. This is a 40-gallon tank. I will probably be resetting because we've got algae. This tank only gets algae when you let plants grow up to the top. And this is a green jade tank. I think I'm going to completely reset this green jade line. There's a lot of good ones. And we've got long fin and short fin, lemon, blue-eye lemon, bristlenose pluckos. And they just had some babies for me. Look at the little babies. Look at the little babies. Little baby pluckos. A lot of these tanks need some work from having too much light, but it's all an experiment. The shrimp are happy. The critters are happy. It's only us most of the time that don't like algae. 99% of the time. There are some algae that can be bad for you. But most of the time, you shouldn't sweat algae. I really don't think it's not that big of a problem unless, I mean, there's some people who want perfect, nice. I go for natural, obviously. This is the 40-gallon Bloody Mary tank. Now, this is my main Bloody Mary tank that I sell shrimp out of. When it gets low, I restock it with shrimp for my Bloody Mary shrimp pond. And these guys all look pretty good. This tank is always been happy. This tank just keeps doing good. Just keeps doing good. Now, down here below, we have the Skittles tank. And look at this moss. It started off, and now it's growing all the way up the side here. This is insane. Look at all these shrimp. They all got over here in the corner where you can't see them, because that's where the algae wafer ended up. But that's the Skittles shrimp right now. Lots of blues and lots of oranges in there. Those are the tanks I've been working on lately. But we got a good assortment of shrimp in there for sure. Lots of cool one-off shrimp. I just had an email just yesterday. Someone asked me if the different colors of shrimp can breed together. And I said, of course they can. They're all Neocaridina. They're all the same species. They're just different colors. But then I explained, I get this question asked a lot, and I've answered it a lot. If you mix different colors of shrimp together, you'll get lots of different possibilities, but you'll always get lower quality shrimp. So if you like mixing them together and seeing what happens and not worried about having low quality shrimp, then go ahead and do that. But if you want the best shrimp, you need to keep all your colors separate. This is what I call my blue velvets. Now there's some confusion. Some people will sell blue velvets. There's different people selling blue velvets as different things. That's just some of the nature of the thing. But I sell these as my blue dream culls. The ones that are just a little bit splotchy. Now, as you can see, they're still all pretty blue. But I pull out the bad ones and put them all in here. And even though the shrimp that I put in here are bad, they still come from really good genetics. So that means you get lots of really good blue shrimp in here still when they breed out. And then this is another trying out more brighter light. And anytime you get plants growing to the surface and you got lots of bright light, that is where your duckweed's going to be. I fight duckweed in this tank all the time. All the time. So that is all the 40-gallon breeders on the rack of 8 of them. And if we come over this way, we'll see our 5 20-gallon longs. And this is my highest grade red shrimp tank. This is my special project fire red tank. And I just reset just a month or so. I don't know, it wasn't that long ago. But look, they're starting to breed back out. Look how good those little ones look. Oh, I'm super excited. Because this one, I was really strict. I cut this colony down to hardly any shrimp. And one thing I did in this, I really wanted to make sure I got the very best ones, as I did not put any buried females in here. So I picked the very, very best females that were not buried when I selected shrimp in here. So this tank is going to take a little bit while to bounce back. I guess it's been a couple months if I've already got babies in there. But I'm excited for this thing, for big things coming out of these shrimp. And this tank right here is actually, I think, what my last video was about. This is a video from last week. This is Special Project Blue Dreams, which means some of the very best Blue Dream shrimp I own. They are the best Blue Dream shrimp I own right now. And look at these guys, man. So, this is a 40-watt light on a 20-gallon long, and this tank doesn't have any problems. So it's weird with algae, that is. This tank always just keeps doing good. Now below, you'll see a couple tanks with that same light that aren't doing as good. Now I have some guppy tanks still. I still love my guppies. These are the red mosaics I need to cull. And then down here, this is another 20-gallon long with a 40-watt shop light, and it is no bueno. I can't keep the moss from floating. The moss is always purling with this bright light in this tank, and it makes it float. I don't know. And we get algae growing in here. And down here, this tank has been a problem tank as well. It's a blue jelly tank. And I've had a few shrimp dying in here. I can't figure out why, but I see baby shrimp in here. I see buried females. But I've seen a few dead shrimp in here. I'm not sure why. I think this tank is going to be a tank I'm going to completely gut out and restart completely. And this tank was, this is my special Project Bloody Mary. We got the shrimp in here super, super good. And this thing was also reset not that long ago. Turn around, then we come all over here. So this is a 12-foot by 4-foot walk-in closet. And I have 10 20-gallon longs and 8 40-gallon breeders. This is a special project green jade tank. I thought I baited these guys up, but Mr. Pleco must have ate the algae wafer already. Another guppy tank, Japan blue. And here's a tank that it likes to grow algae, but the shrimp are doing really good. We got tons of shrimp in here. We got some algae. So, and then down here, another 20-gallon long. We've got snowballs. And then down here's an orange tank I just reset. There's only a handful of shrimp in there right now. But it looks like it's doing good. I've seen there's a couple of them females in there that are buried. So I'm happy about that. And that's it for the closet. So we'll come over here into my family room. And this is my 110-gallon inside guppy pond. And there's tons of shrimp in here. And this is mainly where I'm farming mermaid weed and Ludwigia. But look at this. This is my hand. I have pretty big hands. Oh, let's see here. That is a super giant Anubias. I stuck it in my filter to grow up out of the water, and to grow it did. This thing is enormous. Like, this is my hand. This leaf is bigger than my hand. This thing is nuts. We've got, look at all these guppies. Just a mix of every guppy line, everything I've ever had passed through my hands over the years has some kind of genetic footprint in this tank. Pretty wild. Look at these things. It's nuts. So many. Look at the mermaid weed growing. Super cool. Feeling so good in here. There's some Ludwigia. And there's huge thick mat of moss going all the way across the back and over here on the side, where the light's not strong enough for the stem plants to grow, but the moss grows. So that's the inside guppy pond. This thing has been a lot of fun over the years. This thing was actually set up before my tanks in the other room. This thing was set up years before anything else was set up in the house. In the living room, actually. And then we come over here, and you can see we got some algae. Not a lot, but this is the Bloody Mary Shrimp Pond. We've got, let's see if I can get a shot of that. I threw in some algae wafers down in there. There's thousands of shrimp in here, and even with that huge pile, there's still a whole bunch dispersed all throughout the tank. I mean, right there in that one little bit right there, there's probably 2 dozen shrimp. But you got some algae. Every time the moss grows up to the top in this tank, we get some algae forming, but not a big deal. And look at these crypts. These are Florida sunset crypts. This pond is coming up to be a year old, and I've not touched these crypts. And that's a lot of crypt growth in a year. A lot of crypt growth. I'd say, I think it was like March 3rd or March 6th of last year. And we're in the middle of February now, so we're almost exactly a year. And we come over here, we got 420 highs. And this is a blue jelly tank with an algae problem with lots of light, but there's a lot of shrimp in here. They're doing good. Buried ones, baby ones, all the algae grow on the glass. They enjoy it. And then we have snowballs next to that. Would you just look at that? These guys are nuts. Nuts. Look at the moss. Sometimes this moss will flower. I haven't seen any of it like lately like that. And this is my first Blue Dream Special Project tank. And so we've got some real good stunners in here. This one just hasn't been reset for, it's probably been 2 or 3 months. But we've got lots of really, really good ones. And then this is the main tank of the guppy line. I am trying to come up with, crossing my red mosaics and Japan blue. I'll show you some of those guys. Actually, when I was talking about my mixing the red and blue shrimp and the plecos and I forgot to talk about my male guppies in here. This is the line I'm trying to work on creating. And so every time I see a male start coloring up, or fry it, is going to be a male, I put him in here and let him develop. And so then that way I can make sure only the very, very best males get to be around the girls. Okay, and below the 420 highs, we have my 75-gallon red shrimp tank. And I have put a lot of light on this tank, and you can tell the moss really, really likes it. I'm starting to get a duckweed problem in here, and I'm not a big fan of. But I'll take care of that. If you look close, look at how many little baby shrimp are scattered all throughout the moss here. This tank is always really healthy. There's always a little bit of that black staghorn stuff. I'll grow in the filters and sometimes a little bit in the moss, but not a lot. Well, I think they're all gathered over here is where the algae wafers ended up at, some of them anyway. That's the 75-gallon red shrimp tank. And down below here on the floor, we've got a project orange shrimp tank. I restarted a few months back, and it's building back shrimp. Building up the shrimp population again. This is a 29-gallon Panda Guppy tank, although I need to do some culling real bad on the guppies in here. But the plants in here are doing super good. There's a pleco, Betty. These are Florida Sunset Crips, the same ones that are in the pond. Actually, this tank is where I got the Crips that are in the pond. And we've got a jungle of jungle val. And we've even got lots of green coal shrimp in here with the guppies. That's it for the family room. Well, we come in here to the living room, and this is another tank that's going to be worked on real soon. Look at the green jades here. There's a few coals in here I need to scoop out, but look at how many super, super good ones are in here. And they're all throughout the whole tank. And look at this moss. Oh my God. Now, keep in mind, this is a 75-gallon, 4-foot tank. So this is a freaking ton of moss. Look at it over here. This side. That's all moss. Shrimp. Look at the green jades. Ooh, I like them a lot. And over here, we've got my moss pond. If you buy moss, pile of moss at Marshall Aquatics, this is where it will come from. And we've got my special guppy line. And as much as I tried to avoid getting shrimp in here, there's shrimp in here. So that sucks. I've seen a few in here. It won't be long. It'll be a lot. But this is the line, my cross line I'm working on. Lots of fry in here. I was just watching for the fry to grow up and taking out the males as I see them and putting them in that male only tank. And then these are Phoetonias growing in my filter. Look at those. Wow, those are so pretty. I really like them. This is my new Caridina shrimp tank without any shrimp in it yet. I'm cycling it up with some guppies. But look at these red tiger lotus bulbs I put in here just a few days ago. Look at how much those things are starting to grow. Those things are cool. And look at the moss. The moss is grown in the soft water. Looking really good. Oh my gosh. I was kind of worried. Everyone told me it does just fine in soft water. I had my doubts because let's pull it out of super hard, rock hard Indiana limestone water and throw it in a tank with 0 kH. And man, here it is a week later, and it's growing and green. Mermaid weed, you can tell the new growth since it's been transferred to the new tank and the different water parameters. So I'd say this tank is looking super good. And over here, this is the blue jelly 100-gallon pond. Now this tank, it's not taking off as fast as I'd hope, as fast as the Bloody Mary pond did. But there's lots of buried ones. And so I think it's just a matter of time before we have a huge population explosion in here. We've got tons of them now. I mean, there's tons of shrimp in here still. Just not thousands and thousands like the other one yet. This tank was set up, I believe, in September or October, September, I believe, maybe. So it's not been around that long. And then over here, you can see what we got going on here now. This tank was super happy, crystal clear, not too much algae problem. And then I cut out all that moss. But look, if you can see it, the stem plants have taken off like crazy, but there's not enough. When I pulled out all that moss, the water went green. But this is what I'm fighting. When we get sun, look at that. And we get a lot of sun. I get a lot of green water problems. I figured I'd have problems, but I have to just let the plants grow more. I'm probably gonna have to let more moss and something else grow in here too. Get it all balanced out. But that's good. I mean, there's lots of good buried shrimp in here. So I'm not worried about it. Like I said before, Algae doesn't mean bad. It just means ugly sometimes. But the shrimp like it. I can deal with it. So that's everything. I do believe I got it all. So that's my little shrimp world. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.